Democrat judge Juan, who donated to Joe Biden and whose daughter works for Joe Biden, has held Trump in contempt again. Big surprise, right? Now he's fining him another $1,000. We all know that this is part of their effort to stop him from speaking out about this case, but the big problem here is that the next possible violation might result in incarceration. The judge has said that specifically and brought it up in court, says, Trump, I know that you used to be the president. He said, I know you might be the president again. I really don't want to put you in jail, but I'm going to have to. I'm like, okay, judge. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Stop pretending otherwise. So we're going to get into it. We're going to see what happened in court as it relates to this contempt issue. But the judge, Juan Mercan, he came out and he issued a contempt order. We'll read through it to see what he's penalizing Trump on. And of course, before we get into anything that happened in court, Trump showed up on day 12 and had something to say.
In this country before, it's a ridiculous thing. It's a ridiculous case. I did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. Take a look at Greg Jarrett this morning. He went on. Take a look at Andrew McCarthy or Jonathan Turley or Mark
Sharp dudes.
It's like they say there's no case
Robert
here.
Gouveia watching The Watcher.
And yet the judge has gagged me, and I'm not allowed to talk about, I guess, his total conflict. The judge is totally conflicted, and you ought to take a look at it. And I'm not supposed to be talking about it, but I am allowed to say that the judge has a conflict that like nobody's ever had before. You ought to take a look at it. He's taken away my constitutional right to speak. I was in Miami this weekend, and reporters are asking me questions, the same questions like you're asking.
Can't even talk.
And I have to say I have a gag order. I can't speak about
crazy.
it. Never happened before, ever. Number one. Number two, it's a fake trial. They have no case, and it's been absolutely proven now. They have no case whatsoever. This is Alvin Bragg doing it for political reasons for Biden. This is a Biden trial. He's a crooked president. Now, it just came out, Columbia just canceled their commencement. Axios. Columbia just canceled their commencement. That shouldn't happen. And it also came out that the protesters, many of the protesters, are backed by Biden's donors. Okay? Are you listening, Israel? I hope you're listening, Israel. Hope you're getting smart. But they're backed by Biden donors. That's where the money's coming from. And I'm not surprised at all. There's many other articles, many of them having to do with the gag order and the unconstitutionality having to do with the gag order. And it is unconstitutional, and it shouldn't be allowed. And I wish people could move a little bit quicker, the appellate courts, because the whole world is watching this and they see what's happening. More importantly, frankly, they have no case. They have absolutely no case. It's a political hoax. It's election interference. Anything they can do, and even the witnesses they want to bring up, they have nothing to do with the case. This is a ridiculous situation. Not fair, but we will fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right, so you can see Emile Beauvais. He's back over there. We saw Susan Nicholas is back there. That is the president setting the scene for us, explaining exactly what is true happening here, that this is a rigged hoax brought on by the Democrats. So let's get our bearings straight. What happened with this contempt proceeding? First thing in the morning, Trump walks into court. We're seated there. Of course, inner city press. Matthew Russell Lee is reporting. And so the day starts. It is day 12. Trial's back in session. Trump has arrived. Blue suit, red tie, we just saw. And he's whispering with his lawyer, Todd Blanche, to his left, seated at the defense table. Emile Beauvais, Trump's other attorney, is to his right in the lead counsel cross-examiner seat, ready to go. Beauvais's been doing a great job on cross-examination, dropping the mic many times. Day is getting ready to get started. Door bursts open. All rise. Oh, God. All right, here comes this judge again. Please be seated. Clerk says this is the time set for the people of the state of New York versus Donald Trump, indictment number rigged. Judge Mercan says, all right, everybody, before the court is Bragg's motion for contempt. Now, Mr. Trump, in a moment, I'm going to hand down my ruling, finding you in criminal contempt for the 10th time. And he says, going forward, the court will have to consider jail. Mercan says, Trump, now I am concerned about the ramifications of putting you in jail, but I have a job to do to compel respect for the dignity, LOL on that one, of the court. Your behavior constitutes a direct attack on the rule of law. And if I need to, I will do it. So the case on trial continues. We're going to get a new witness. Let's see what the contempt order says, because this is a threat of jail against a former president, against a candidate who is currently crushing Joe in the polls. What happens if they put him in jail? What is the judge's basis for doing that? This is the motion. Judge Juan Mercan came out. He says, okay, Trump, this is my order on contempt. He says, Trump has been charged with 34 counts. We know that. $130,000 $1,000 allegedly in a falsified business record that we'll get into. Now, he says on February 22nd of this year, Bragg filed a motion and issued an order hereinafter called the order. The court did. And it says you can't talk about this stuff. We're familiar. So the people moved for an order to show cause, and we already issued a contempt finding. Then a hearing was conducted April 23rd, and Trump was found liable on 9 violations. He was directed to take down the social media posts. And then, in the meantime, before the court issued its order of April, the people moved a third time by another order to find him in contempt again. They seek a $1,000 fine each time. So they say this court now, Mercan, who donated to Joe Biden twice and who has a daughter who has raised $93 million for Democrats and literally works for Kamala and Joe, this corrupt judge says, the court has considered the respective arguments of both parties and all the exhibits introduced into evidence, and here's what I find. As explained more fully by this government prosecutor named Conroy, they say Trump violated this order because he made a statement to the media in the hallway of the court. Okay? He went outside, just like we saw, and said something about the trial and about the election. They didn't like that. Court was adjourned on April 22nd at 12:40. Among other things, Trump came out and he said, when are they going to look at all the lies that Cohen did in the last trial? They're not. Remember, Cohen was in Tish's courtroom where she took her stinky feet out and waved them around for everybody, and Angron was like, I love it there. Trump got a whole prosecution by Tish based on a fake lying witness named Michael Cohen. So he lied there. A federal judge said that's not me making it up. A federal judge said Cohen lied either there or he lied in federal court. Pick one. But it's one or the other based on his testimony. So Trump said he got caught lying in the last trial. So he got caught lying, pure lying. And when are they going to look at that? No one's going to look at that. Prosecutor says, how dare he talk badly about our witnesses? And by virtue of an interview that Trump also gave to Just the News, which is broadcast on a network called Real America's Voice, shout out. Among other things, Trump said, you know, the judge is rushing the trial like crazy. Nobody's ever seen a thing go like this. The jury was picked so fast, it's 95% Democrat, says Trump. The area is mostly all Democrat. You think of it as, just a purely Democrat area. It's a very unfair situation, that I can tell you, says Trump. I don't know what's wrong with that one. Why? Because he's talking about the jury in the abstract, right? The jury as a whole. He's not talking about individual jurors. He's talking about the jury. It's a process, okay? Can you not even talk about the process? The jury was picked so fast, it's a highly Democrat area. 95% Democrats is what he says. So maybe that's the problem. He's commenting on the makeup of the jury. Still not individual jurors. So I don't know what's so problematic about that statement and how it violates the order. Let's see what the judge, how he makes that up. By virtue of an interview Trump gave to a program also called Action News, which is an ABC News affiliate in Pennsylvania, 5:56 p.m., Trump said, well, Michael Cohen's a convicted liar. Fact check true. He's got no credibility whatsoever. Michael Cohen was a convicted liar. It's true. But what he did is he did some pretty bad things, right? That's what Trump said. So he can't say that because it's Michael Cohen's name. Now, by virtue of a press event also at 6:35 April 25th, Trump said about David Pecker, he said he's been very nice. I mean, he's been, they said you can't even say that. How dare you mention another witness's name, David Pecker? So they say, all right, judge says Trump doesn't dispute that he made the statements. Rather, he advances several defenses to support his claim that his actions are not a willful violation of the order and should not be criminally held in contempt. He says, for example, that he did not willfully violate this because it's core protected political speech made in response to attacks by Cohen, and that his comments about the jury don't violate the order because he didn't specifically reference any prospective juror or any juror in this proceeding. He was talking about the panel as in whole. And finally, he claims that the comments about Pecker are not a violation at all. He says he's a nice guy. So he's going to give us a bunch of case law. This is what the law says. Okay, we got it. Now let's apply it. He says, now the court, therefore, cannot find beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump's statements reference were not protected political speech made in response to attack by Cohen. And so likewise, this court cannot find beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump's statement in Exhibit H constitutes a violation. And so to be sure, so it sounds like Trump wins on those, but to be sure, this court understands the people's argument as it pertains to this exhibit and agrees that often seemingly innocuous and even complimentary words and phrases can in truth conceal a more nefarious purpose, right? So the statement about Pecker, which is Exhibit H, Pecker's a nice guy, judge says, okay, that's not a violation. E and G were statements about Cohen. And so the E statement is when Trump said he lies. When are they going to look at the lies? And then G is Cohen is a convicted liar, right? He said, well, I can't find beyond a reasonable doubt that they were not protected. And so we understand, but facial expressions, emphasis, and even cadence are critical in reaching a determination. Now, under the circumstances, this court cannot find beyond a reasonable doubt that the statement in question constitutes some sort of veiled threat to Pecker. So they say, all right, so Trump wins on those three. Now, turning to the statement referenced in Exhibit F, they say, yep, he has been found guilty of that beyond a reasonable doubt. Let's remind ourselves, what is Exhibit F? Exhibit F is the statement that is about the jury. Exhibit F. Jury was picked so fast, 95% Democrats. He's going to hit him on that one. He says Trump violated the order by making statements about the jury and how it was was selected. Our order is unambiguous. In doing so, Trump not only called into question the integrity of this proceeding, which we all are, and therefore the legitimacy of these proceedings, which are illegitimate, but again raised the specter of fear for the safety of jurors and their loved ones. What? Such concerns, he said that it's 95% Democrats, so does that mean that they're going to be taken out or something? Such concerns undoubtedly threaten to, quote, interfere with the fair administration of justice, which is a fake Democrat platitude, which is no different than, protecting American democracy. It's meaningless, and constitutes a direct attack on the rule of law. It remains this court's fundamental responsibility to protect the decency of this very indecent criminal process and to control the disruptive influences, which is Trump in the courtroom. And so this court finds Trump is in criminal contempt for willfully disobeying a lawful mandate. It's like, oh my gosh, this of all of those is like the weakest, in my opinion, of all of them, right? He also shouldn't have been found for this one. But here's the punishment. He says, as stated in its decision and order, criminal contempt is punishable by a $1,000 fine and jail not exceeding 30 days. And I'm allowed to do this. Now, because the offensive statement was made prior to this court's decision of April 30th, and because the people are only seeking a fine, this court will once again fine Trump $1,000. However, because this is now the 10th time, and that this court has found Trump in criminal contempt, spanning across 3 separate motions, it is apparent that monetary fines have not and will not suffice to deter Trump from violating this court's lawful orders. And so therefore, Trump is hereby put on notice that if appropriate and warranted, future violations of its lawful orders will be punishable by incarceration. And it is hereby ordered Trump pay a $1,000 fine, that the offending statement, which has been posted on Trump Truth social account, be removed. Signed by Democrat donating judge and Democrat working daughter judge, Juan the Con Mercon is here signing this order to take this out of Trump's hands. In other words, Trump is not allowed to speak at all, lest he be punished with jail. And so interesting questions on whether this judge is ultimately someone who is corrupt and should have recused himself. This was an interesting question that came out over on CNN. Jake Tapper asked this woman, whose daddy's a judge too, don't know if she works for Joe Biden and Kamala, maybe, but she says, my daddy judge would have recused because it's the right thing to do. Of course, this judge, Juan the Con, did not.
Right. So we only have a minute left, but one thing interesting that you two have in common, in addition to being amazing reporters, is you're both the children of judges. Your dad was a federal judge. Your mom was one as well. What do you think? Well, let's start with you, because you talked with your dad about whether Merchan should recuse.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's not going to make the choice for someone else, but he did say that he would have probably recused himself, just given the high-profile nature of the
Because
case.
of the daughter?
Because of the daughter, and because the fact that it was being brought up.
Right. Yeah, the daughter, $93 million for Democrats, literally working for Kamala Harris. And this judge gets to now imprison Donald Trump if he plays his cards right and tries to ensnare him in his little judicial scheme, which he's already doing as we speak. But my friends, we'll be here on this trial. Thank you for joining us as we do. Thanks for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. Thanks for liking this video. Thanks for checking out some of our links down in the description below, including watchingthewatchers.locals.com, our members only community where we do live streams in the morning and on Saturdays. We'd love to see you there and back here on the next one.